was September of 1996, and the gaming landscape had suddenly become a lot less flat. Nintendo had put the finishing touches on Project Reality and unleashed it upon the masses with Super Mario 64, a game that almost immediately changed what people expected from video games. So when Rare and Nintendo released Donkey Kong Country 3 for the Super NES 2 months after the launch of the Nintendo 64, the game faced an insurmountable struggle for the attention of consumers infatuated with playing games free of the restrictions of a side-scrolling screen. And even though its series had been a Nintendo cornerstone just a few years earlier, Donkey Kong Country was now a flat, outdated afterthought. You hear that? Yeah, that's the Super Mario 64 theme, and its presence here is fitting. Just like Mario's new game hogged the spotlight from Donkey Kong Country 3, so too did his music. I mean, wow. Talk about a symbolic slap in the face. Now, to be fair, Mario wasn't the only one to blame for the lack of attention this game received. I mean, a little star power might have helped, but Donkey Kong Country 3 had as much of that as it did polygons. That is to say, absolutely none. Like its predecessor, Donkey Kong Country 3 shuffles the playable cast. It brings back Dixie Kong for a starring role, and it introduces yet another new Kong, the simian toddler, Kiddy Kong. Now, timing of its release aside, that's another reason so many Nintendo fans overlooked this game. Pulling Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong Country 2 ended up working because Diddy Kong is popular and charming enough to carry the game on his own. Dixie Kong, on the other hand, she doesn't have quite the same appeal, to say nothing of the horrendous Kiddy Kong, who is proof positive that Rare was starting to get a little bit Kong happy with creating new characters. Expanding the Kong family is one thing, but throwing in such awkward and frankly bizarre looking characters is quite another. I mean, I'm sorry, but that is an objectively poorly designed monkey. I mean, what has science done? So without the two characters with which people identify Donkey Kong Country, this game feels a bit removed from the prior two, but it does at least play like it should. The same gameplay that made Donkey Kong Country such a hit the 2 years prior returns intact in Donkey Kong Country 3. And in fact, the dynamic between these two is more reminiscent of the first game, pairing the nimble Dixie with the stronger Kiddy. Another change in the third country is the emphasis on exploration. Instead of a straightforward map that connected the levels directly, Donkey Kong Country 3 has players navigating a larger overworld. But frankly, while it does give the game a larger scope, it also feels tacked on and somewhat unnecessary. You get the sense Rare really didn't want to repeat themselves for the Donkey Kong Country games. Their changes worked the second time around, but by this point, they seem to be grasping at change simply for change's sake. Now that said, one of the best changes in this game is its setting. Dixie and Kiddy travel through a colder climate than the previous titles, an almost Canadian landscape with mountains, lakes, and forests. It's a nice change of pace for sure, but that's one of the only things about this game that is. Now again, this game is definitely worth checking out. This is a truly fantastic platformer, but considering its lineage, it's never quite fantastic enough. Maybe it's the Super Mario 64 effect. Maybe the bar was set too high for an infant to reach. Or maybe Dixie Kong's Double Trouble was an example of Rare trying to evolve its primates when there was really nothing wrong with just a gorilla in a tie.